Okay, we just took a break here in the south of France, near Marseille. This is where kind of Marseille is, but we stayed in this village which is called Cassis, which is pretty nice, pretty touristy though. And even though it's October, there've been quite a lot of people hanging out here, but it's fine. And we did a little hike today. Yesterday we did some kayaking from down there, but now we're basically walking around a bit. These little bays are called calanques. Okay. Beep, beep. I think we're gonna walk up there as well next, and then we're gonna walk back and chill at the beach a bit. So yeah, I just wanted to briefly talk to you as well and share some thoughts, some pretty random thoughts. And I haven't done this in a while, like just rambling and talking about some theories, but I wasn't sure why that is, honestly. I wasn't sure why I haven't been making that many rambling videos. I mean, there's obviously several reasons. One of them is just being busy, I guess, and sorting my life out and everything. I'm busy with work, but I think the other reason, and the more interesting one and the more important one maybe, is that I didn't feel like I had that much to say, and that I have that much to share, which is interesting. As I get older, I feel like I have less to share. I remember like 5 years ago or something, I had all these theories about the world, and I was thinking about, oh, I need to share this, I need to write a book about this. And it was always about some kind of mental framework about the world, how to optimize yourself and your view about the world, and how to design a life according to who you are. And I think a lot of it was about understanding life and the world as it is, and people, and accepting them. I think a lot of the ideas were valid, I guess, but now I feel less of a pressing need to share them. And also, I guess I started to question more the usefulness of mental models, because let's say they're just mental models, right? And so far, I guess the intriguing thing about mental models is that you can once figure out the world, and then everything becomes so much easier that it's kind of like a cheat code. Like, okay, I unlocked the cheat code of life, and this is like the code. I decoded the life essence, and now everything is just like using cheat codes, and it's so easy. Which isn't the case, obviously, right? Because a mental model or a heuristic is always a simplification of reality, and you can never really grasp all the nuances of life with just a model which says, I don't know, work hard in the morning and do the most important things first, or you have to know yourself and then everything becomes easier, or you have to, I don't know, take 1 hour every day to journal. And the funny thing is also, every time I think I have some kind of revelation, some eureka moment, it's not really a eureka moment, because I forget about the ideas. The ideas become like almost boring to me, because they lost their novelty. And maybe for me what's stimulating is more about coming up with ideas rather than sticking to ideas and following them in a rigid manner. I guess when you do teamwork, you always need the idea guy, and I'm probably more of the idea guy as opposed to the guy who just sticks to the plan and does the project management or whatever. Even though I've been doing back in the day some project management tasks as well for certain jobs, but whatever. Oh, that's nice. That's beautiful. Check this out. Oops. Ja, stimmt. There's somebody back there, so I don't want to film too much. But this looks amazing, I think. That's pretty nice. I don't even know what this island back there is, but it looks cool. Kind of like maybe the Jurassic Park island or something. Not really, I guess. So yeah, in any case, I feel like if a mental model I came up with was so life-changing, it would have changed my life, but so far it hasn't changed my life, I guess you could say, but whatever. Maybe that's also too simplistic to say that. I think, in general though, I think it's an interesting question to ask yourself is, where have I changed my mind recently? Which topic did I change my mind on recently? And I guess one of these things I changed my mind on might be, even though I didn't really specifically acknowledge this to myself even or recognize this, is I guess the value of self-help and coming up with mental models that explain life and everything. I guess at some point, if you're younger, you think this is the end-all be-all, just reading some books, some self-help books, and then you have everything figured out. But it's really hard to explain why, but I feel like it just has limited value in some sense. I feel like I have more of a grasp on what life is and what matters now that I don't read any self-help books, as opposed to back in my 20s when I read a lot of self-help books, it feels like. And maybe it's just a question of maturity. Now I have more going on in my life and everything. But I feel like, the less I think about self-help and habits and all this stuff, the better I'm doing, I guess, even though I can't say that I have everything figured out, and I still have many things I do struggle with, obviously, and that don't come easy to me. And these are all things that, are still true. Wow, this looks amazing. I guess part of this video is also trying to show you how beautiful this nature is. But I gotta say, it's October now, and it's 23 degrees. It's warm enough for me. I've been sweating quite a bit. And if it was summer, like 40 degrees or something, I would be dying right now. I wouldn't have a great time. And so I guess it's a nice compromise to be here in the south in October, as opposed to in the summer. It's still a bit touristy, a bit too touristy for me personally, for my taste. But it's alright, I would say. It's better. So I guess that's one point I wanted to share with you, kind of like the something I've changed my mind on a bit, is the value of mental models and self-help. But I think there's one thing I've always struggled with. It's like productivity and finding like the right way of organizing my life, and I've always changed systems, and I've tried everything from Pomodoro technique to so and so. I think first of all, if you don't have tons of projects going on and tons of ideas and creative projects, you don't really need all of that. You can just go to your 9-to-5 job or 8-to-5 job or whatever you have, if you have a job, and then just do your work and go home and relax and enjoy life. I guess that's probably the best way of living a balanced life, I guess. But if you're like me and if you have ideas and you have projects and it's something that motivates you and stimulates you, it's still always a struggle to get this done, even after your 8 to 5 job, or which can be tiresome, of course. And then if you make plans and you say, I'm going to do this project by then, and you always end up not reaching that goal and end up postponing this, it can be quite frustrating and unfortunate, and you end up being unhappy and doubting yourself that you even have the capacity of following through, and all of that is quite unfortunate, of course. And all I can say is, in this regard, is I've been doing like a mixture of, I guess, Pomodoro technique, not really, but I've just been using Google Calendar to schedule everything very accurately. And I guess this is something that I copied from myself, from using this implicitly in my own job, in my work life. I have quite a lot of hats on, and I have quite a lot of things to do and projects going on at the same time. So basically, I just write down everything that I need to do in my Outlook calendar. That's what I use for work. And of course, there's the meetings in my calendar, but I also write down my tasks, my to-dos in my calendar. And there's a plane. Can you see it? It's a bit annoying, but whatever. Okay. I don't only schedule my meetings in my Outlook calendar, I also put in blockers for tasks that I have to do and to-dos that I shouldn't forget. And sometimes I need to just move them to the end of the day or whatever. And if I don't accomplish these tasks, I move them to the next day. And if I don't accomplish them within a week, I need to move them to the next week. And so and I use kind of like a color coding. I use like a yellow or something for to-dos, and a green color for finished tasks. And there are several benefits to this technique, I find. The first one is I don't forget things. This is something I'm always a bit paranoid about taking on too many tasks and then forgetting the really important ones, forgetting deadlines. This is something that can keep me away at night. And maybe because I'm a bit of a forgetful person, that I have to be extra careful to be very diligent in this regard. And the second advantage is I can use these blockers in my calendars as blockers for uninterrupted work, for not getting distracted all the time. So I can basically, for outside people trying to schedule meetings, I can basically, they see that my full afternoon is full of tasks, so they won't interrupt me all that much, and I can say that I need to work in an uninterrupted manner on these tasks. And also, I think it also is a good reminder, and that's a third good reason for myself to not take on too many tasks, because I always see like the backlog of other things that I still need to do. And you can also use this technique and expand this by adding weekly recurring tasks. Like every Friday I have like 1 hour of admin where I check up on important documents and just check if I need to do any HR stuff or need to do like sign any bills or whatever it is. So this is a method I've been sticking to for the last 3 years quite consistently, and it's been working quite well, I have to say. And I basically decided that I wanted to copy this from my private life as well. So what does this mean? First of all, I'm using a different calendar, but if you're super efficient, you can also combine this calendar with your work calendar, of course. And what you can also do in your Google Calendar, you can just block off the time where you have to do at your day job, and then basically you schedule everything throughout the week. That's the idea. when you go to work out, that's something you schedule in your calendar. If you have to-dos and tasks, that's something you schedule in your calendar. And if you have like a doctor's appointment and everything, you basically use this as your planner, as your personal assistant, which helps you with all the stuff that you need to do. And I also use this for personal stuff. I also use some color coding, but if I have like a date night planned with my girlfriend, this is something I would put in the calendar as well. And if I need to organize something for her birthday or something, this is something I put in there as well. And you can also use like a color coding for the status of these tasks. For example, use different colors for different types of tasks. One is for sport, one is for personal life and relationships and social life, one is for projects. And so you can basically do this, and then you can use green if you finish those tasks. That's kind of what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't know if that's interesting to you, but in any case, there's one change I made though, and this is maybe a bit of a twist that's counterintuitive, but it's been helpful to me. It can be quite demotivating if besides your job you try to accomplish tasks, and then you put, let's say, for instance, I want to make like a very complicated video, and then in my calendar I put in finish this video, but then it turns out this video takes like 10 hours to make, from filming it to editing it, and I won't finish the video, and it's a bit, yeah, it's not a great feeling to basically put this in your calendar and never really finish it, and then you end up having hundreds of ideas and tasks in your calendar and you never finish it. So I changed this model a bit, and I don't really track that many to-dos necessarily in my Google Calendar for my personal projects, but I track the time that I invest basically. And so I basically told myself, okay, every week I want to invest 10 hours, at least 10 hours in personal projects. This is like a minimum time that I determined that is enough to advance in my projects, but also not too much that I don't have any social life left. 10 hours. Sometimes I try to squeeze in like 1 hour on Monday or on Tuesday whenever I don't work out, and then the rest I do on a Saturday or on a Sunday. But it's not like a total unrealistic number, like, oh, I'm going to work 30 hours besides my jobs. That's, I mean, oftentimes I thought I could do this, but then I didn't really manage to, and then I was disappointed in my own lack of follow through, and that's a bit of a bad thing if you always think like, oh, I'm going to do this crazy thing, and then you end up not doing it. It's a bit unfortunate. Okay. So again, basically I in my calendar I put like every hour that I for my projects. I basically, by the start of the week, I already have the 10 hours as individual blocks in there basically. So I call this block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, block 5, block 6, block 7, block 8, block 9, block 10, and each one is 1 hour. And after I complete it, 1 hour invested, I highlight this block green. So basically it's always it's both a scheduler but also like a project management file which helps you track whether you finished something or not. Okay. And next the question remains, what am I going to invest these 10 hours in every week? This is something that's not easy, and it's something you need to think about quite a bit, because it's important what you do, not only how long you spend. It's actually more important to think about what you do. And this is why I try to, before the week starts, ideally, I try to figure out what I'm going to invest my 10 hours in. And I have like separate documents for each project. Let's say one project could be the ASMR channel, and there I have a list of ideas, and then I try to, ideally before the week starts, I try to to have a good plan what I'm going to do in the 10 hours. I'm not perfect in this regard. It's a method I've been using for a few months, I guess, not that long, but so far it's been okay, even though I haven't been super productive with the ASMR channel, as you might have noticed. But now you know there's also other stuff that I'm doing in parallel, and I'm trying to put in the hours. Yeah, because I heard, I think from Chris Williamson or something, who, you might not like him, but he's a smart guy, and he's doing kind of like the Tim Ferriss route, I guess, interviewing people, but he does it quite well, and he's quite over-prepared, and that's something I like about him. I like him more than Diary of a CEO, but it's similar, I guess. So he basically said if you procrastinate many times, you just don't have a full clarity what you should be doing or how you should be doing something. For instance, if your goal is, I want to make a video, and this is on your to-do list, but you never made a video, you don't know how to do it, you don't know what to make it about, you don't know how to film it and everything, you're probably never going to really start it, because it's just too many question marks, too many unknowns. And if you have everything, like a very clear outline, I'm going to write a script for the video about the topic X and Y, and I'm going to, like, I don't know, it's going to be 1 page long, then you're much more likely to do the actual task. So be specific and have a good plan about what you're going to do. This will very much decrease the likelihood of procrastination. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's something I changed a bit in this regard. So separating or basically using calendars as my main tool for task planning. The good thing is also it's all digital. It's all connected to both my smartphone and my different computers. I use the Google ecosystem. You can also use the Microsoft one or whatever else. It doesn't make too much of a difference, and you shouldn't be too... one thing I really urge you to not be is to be perfectionist, to always think, I just need the perfect planning software. I need to buy an expensive one, then everything is gonna be perfect. There's never the perfect cheat code for everything, and there's always gonna be some things that are hindering your progress and your success. And this is something you just have to get used to, I think. Yeah, this is something I've thought about quite a bit, and maybe if you're interested in this topic, I can show you some actual examples, but it's not really a revolutionary technique or something. There's obviously what's good, and what I try to do as well is to have certain blocks every week that I allocate always to a certain task. So basically what I also do, which helped me a lot for the last 3 years or so, I've been working out 3 times a week, always on Monday, always on Wednesday, and always on Saturday mostly. And this is something I've been sticking to quite a bit, and it just feels good to me. And I don't really need a reminder anymore. It's become a bit of a habit now, which is great. And yeah, this is something that kind of comes natural to me because it feels good to just go outside. That's something else I changed a bit in this regard, but I think, what I think quite a bit about is energy management. I think this is one of my key struggles, you could say, because I feel like I just don't have that much energy. Unfortunately, I wish I had more. I wish I had twice the energy. But I feel like there's certain events and certain things that drain my energy, just like an old battery. Wow, this must be Marseille, I think. This must be Marseille. Can you see that big city back there? It doesn't always have the best reputation because it's quite an intense city, I guess, but they have a great football team, or they had a great football team, historically at least. L'OM, they're called. And it's probably a cool city. I think I've been once or something, but also became a bit dangerous recently, which is unfortunate. Okay, let's continue. Energy management. Again, I don't have that much energy. My girlfriend has much more energy than me. I'm really surprised when we just do some activity that to me is draining, and like even walking here and hiking, she can come home and start doing something right away, like cooking or something, and I just feel like I need a break, and I always feel like I need some help, some external tools, some crutches like sugar or something, or caffeine to pump me up and give me a bit of the energy that I'm lacking. But it can become a vicious cycle, because you end up drinking lots of caffeine, and then once you don't have it, your energy levels drop all the more, and I feel like there's not really a free lunch when it comes to your energy. I guess the free lunch, or what you should definitely do, is sleep well. Try to sleep well. Try to avoid the things that drain your energy very, very much, and you will usually feel that, because somebody who's very introverted, for instance, when they're at a big loud party, they will drain their energy very, very fast. For other people, it might be different things. It might be like a very annoying commute or something, or it might be just driving a car. Cooking might drain a lot of energy, or for you it might actually give you energy. So I think it's really important to be very keen on observing what gives you energy and what robs you of energy, and that's something that I'm still doing. I have a better grasp of it, but still I feel like it should be more. And there's even people who claim they have like a chronic fatigue syndrome from COVID or something, and say this is like a COVID related issue. It's really hard for me just to know if this is a psychosomatic thing or an actual thing, but one thing I know for sure is, for me, the energy sometimes just isn't there, and I wish I had more, because I feel like this is my biggest weakness. I could accomplish so much more if I had more energy, but then again I feel it's unnatural to always push myself, and I would probably have to take like Adderall or something to always be at my highest, and probably pump up my heart rate in an unhealthy way. So all I'm saying is, I guess life is unfair, right? And people have different energy levels. I feel like people who are very wildly successful have tons of energy, and this is something I have to kind of build my life around, the fact that I don't have like endless energy. Sometimes I feel like I do, but usually I feel like I don't. So I have to kind of like build around it and use certain tools and techniques to avoid this. I feel like I'm pretty smart, but I feel like my energy levels are not amazing, and this is why I need to be very careful. And also use my energy as like a very finite resource. I guess you could say it's like in a video game. That's an interesting thing. Can you see that stone thing? Yeah, it's kind of like having like stamina of 10, and I guess just going to work, commuting to work already robs me of one of my stamina points. Then working for 3 hours in the morning is like 2 or 3 stamina points. Having a lunch alone is kind of neutral, I guess, or having a lunch with a big group is maybe robbing me of another 1 stamina point. Then work in the afternoon gets a bit more tiresome, robs me of 2 or 3 energy points. Then working out can give me maybe energy, but I'm not sure. And then at the end of the day I just don't have any energy left to do any project, and this is something that's quite unfortunate, but it's just a reality I have to take into consideration. This one looks cool. Okay, that's not an ancient building, it's just some stones that have been put up here. Okay, and however, I feel like some stuff like having alone time to replenish is good for my energy levels. Working out is good for my energy levels. Going to the sauna is good for my energy levels. Cold showers is good for my energy levels. What isn't great, even though short term it helps me, is eating sugar, eating like gummy bears, drinking energy drinks, drinking tons of coffee and stuff like this. This isn't like a great sustainable solution, even though short term it might help me. What does, however, I mean, you have to observe what helps you, but what I noticed is food is very, very key. If I eat like a hamburger during lunch, or even worse, like a pizza during lunchtime, and drink a beer, I'm totally wasted. I could just fall asleep right away. However, if I don't eat that much, technically speaking, and if I just drink like 1 liter of a green smoothie that is really pumped full of kale and spinach and doesn't really maybe taste that great, but just has great nutrients, this gives me energy. And that's something I have been doing like 4 or 5 years ago, but I kind of stopped doing these smoothies myself, and I want to pick up again because I notice how great this is. So basically, energy level is very important. Look at them, keep in mind what you can do to improve this, and yeah, whatever. I think all in all, when I think about life and how to live life, I keep coming back to like my view, which hasn't changed all that much, I guess, of determinism. I do still believe that very much like a big part of how we live life and where we are and what we do as a job, how successful we are in the career or in as a student, how successful we are with the other, like in dating, how successful we are in all things in life is very much deterministic, and how happy we are even. And I still pretty much subscribe to that view that first of all, it's your genes, which I think is underappreciated how important they are. Not only your looks, of course, but the intelligence that was given to you, and the amount of happy chemicals that your brain produces, and the amount of anxiety and I guess anxiety and worry chemicals in your brain, which I have too much of. It's annoying to me. I don't even want to worry about stuff, but every 10 seconds I think about forgetting my keys or some shit like that. It's like worrisome. It's just like something that sometimes I feel like I'm cursed with. But all I try to say is, and then you have your genes, which I think is more than 50% of how you live, how you are, who you are, and then the other 50% is basically how you were raised, which is also deterministic. And then there's some decisions which you think you made yourself, like what to study, who to date, who to go in a relationship with. But a lot of it is also just your environment, which is deterministic mostly, and your genes, which is deterministic fully. So is that a bad thing? Maybe it can be depressing if you feel like you have the short stick in the gene lottery and the parents lottery and the environment lottery. But I think it can also be freeing, because you basically don't always try to optimize your life and maximize everything and think about the strategies and am I living my full potential and everything. Those are good questions to ask yourself. But then again, I think acknowledging and accepting a more deterministic worldview can really lead to peace of mind, because basically you just kind of go with the flow. That's something that maybe sounds really bad and hippie-ish to some type A people like myself even, who always want to control everything and brute force their way into the perfect life that is a masterpiece. But it's just not the way it is. And I mean, this becomes especially true for diseases. If you get cancer or something, or some other life-changing disease, it's really bad. A lot of the, I guess, if you get into an accident or not, let's say car accident, you can also say this is deterministic mostly also. And yeah, I think we live in a strange time, because back in the day you had religion to kind of give you a beautiful blanket of hope and comfort and reassurance that everything will be fine, and if it isn't fine right now on earth, it will be fine in heaven, in the afterlife. We don't really have that anymore, and it can be kind of a scary place. All I'm saying is it's gonna be fine, I guess, in some way, or it's gonna be whatever it's gonna be. It is what it is, what rappers would say, and I think that's a pretty wise thing to acknowledge. I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe don't brute force your way too much into trying to like live a certain life and I think the life that you have right now is probably implicitly already the life that you were supposed to live, I guess, based on your genes and based on your upbringing. It's kind of like a result of that, and most of it was outside of your control. Maybe you could say all of it was outside of your control. I'm talking a bit too much. I should make more pauses and think more. But it's basically what I'm really thinking in terms of. I guess this is advice that mostly resonates with Type A people or applies to Type A people. If you're somebody who's more Type B, I guess, is more reserved and more doesn't do much and just tries to sit still and just wants to enjoy life and is like more of a hippie type person, then maybe you should take more action. I think it's important to keep moving forward. Sometimes I had phases in my life where I feel like I wasted a full year or several years without really moving forward, and this is something I'm not too fond of. I wish I had moved more. I wish I wouldn't have analyzed that much. I wish I would have taken more action. And I guess both things are kind of true. But I think many things in life, like who you are and where you are right now, you shouldn't blame yourself. You shouldn't be ashamed of where you stand. This is something I see quite often on Reddit or something, where people say, I'm a failure. At 30, I'm still living at my parents' place, or I haven't dated as much as I should have. And this is easy for me to say, I guess, but you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. It's good that you want to change, I think. But then again, it feels like it is what it is in a way. And it's not always a good idea to brute force your way into something that you're just not meant to be. And maybe, not everybody's meant to be a rock star. Not everybody's meant to be super famous and successful. Not everybody's meant to be some Casanova who dates like everybody. And just accepting where you are in life, I think that's important, and it's a good thing. It's also good if you notice I want to change and I can change, to take action. That's great, of course. But then again, I would like to encourage you to not be so hard on yourself. I think that's the important message I have here. Don't be so hard on yourself, because usually it's just not that helpful. And actually it can kind of paralyze you. I've been in those moments as well where you kind of lose yourself in those dark clouds of like, I should have done this differently, and if only I hadn't done this mistake. And it's not productive. It's just not good, because it's like a toxic thing. It's like it paralyzes you into overanalyzing. I think everything that keeps you moving forward is better than just overanalyzing and just thinking too much. Of course, if you make choices, it's good to make choices that you can reverse later on. Maybe just right now selling everything and moving to Tibet to become a monk is kind of a hardcore choice. But other than that, I think it's good to take action and to take some risk. But then again, being accepting of wherever you are right now is important as well. Yeah, I guess this is something I still try to. I wish I could talk to somebody about this deterministic worldview of mine, because I feel like most people have a different view. I think they have the opposite view of like, it's like a blank, like green pasture. It's like a green field, like a blank canvas. That's your life. You can just design whatever you like. I have like the opposite view. You already have a canvas, you already have a painting, and then you can add maybe some sprinklers here and there. But other than that, deterministic factors painted a picture for you, and this is your life basically. And if this is a really ugly picture, then you had bad luck. But if it's a beautiful Monet picture, then you had great luck and you don't have to do much. If you're born in a rich family, you inherit millions, you're beautiful, that's a great life. It's an easy life probably. But not always. I mean, some of these people become depressed as well. But let's just agree that it's a very privileged and easy life, and that you can just, it's so much easier than most of other humans in this life. And it can be easy to be jealous of these people as well. yeah, these are all things I think about quite a bit. And I also feel like sometimes it's good to kind of trust, and maybe back in the day I would have thought, no, I have to design all the things that I need to do in life, and I have to have a list all the time of traits that I need to change and skills that I need to learn. But now I feel like sometimes life kind of gives you these hints and points you in the right direction. Let me give you one example. If you live in a relationship, you will automatically find some pain points that you are probably more likely your partner will find annoying about you. And let's say your partner says you don't communicate, which is something I don't do that much. I don't talk all that much usually, and I don't communicate my emotions. And instead of just saying, oh, shut up, there's just some woman talking, who cares about your opinion? That's not a really healthy and mature way of dealing with this. I try to listen, and if she recommends some book that I read, I try to read it, or if she says I should go to therapy or something, I at least consider it. And I think sometimes, this is one example where basically your deficiencies and your character flaws become apparent through a relationship. And instead of being very close-minded and saying, no, I'm not going to change, I like the way I am, I think it's good to keep an open mind and try to become a better person, and kind of let life point you in the right direction at the right time. And maybe it's not the right time right now to do whatever is annoying, but at some point I think maybe life will show you what you need to do. And it's good to kind of trust in the flow of life. That's something I try to be better at, to just kind of flowing with life, not trying to control everything, not trying to brute force everything, because I'm not even that good at it sometimes. I just I try to do too many things at once, and I feel like I haven't used my potential. I haven't fully manifested my potential yet, because I have been brute forcing it too much. I have been doing the wrong things, or I have been doing the right things wrong. And but all in all, I don't want to sound too pessimistic. I'm quite happy where I am in life, and of course there's things that are more difficult for me, like many things, and I've been dealt quite bad cards in certain aspects of I guess my brain and so on, and even my body, and some problems that I have, but it could be so much worse, and I'm very grateful for the things that I do have. And that's something that's beautiful, and in a way that's something I like about myself, is that I keep an open mind about also changing myself, instead of just being stuck in my ways and just thinking, oh, I need to stay the way I am. No, I'm very open to being wrong as well. I think that's important as well in the work life. I see so many people who always think they have all the right solutions, but I'm very open to saying, no, I might be wrong. I mean, I'm open, and I wish like life was so simple that there's always, everything was black and white and there's just one right answer, but just from my experience, that just isn't the case. There is a hierarchy of answers. There's usually an answer that's better than the other one, but there's not like an obvious right and wrong answer, and this is why it's important to stay open. It's also important to have people who are less open-minded, who stick to the plan, who implement something, who are just kind of like rigid order followers. Those people are important as well. I think it's also something that comes back to the deterministic point of view, that basically some people like myself are more open-minded, very creative, I think, and I'm good with ideas and coming up with new things, but there might be people who are better at just implementing something. I would probably die if I just had to stand in front of an assembly line and just have to assemble one thing, one cog into another, I would die from boredom. That's not something I'm good at. And I would probably make mistakes as well because I would be daydreaming all the time. So that's one last point, that I thought about when thinking about making this video, about knowing yourself perfectly. That's also something I'm not sure anymore if this is something that you need to do that excessively. I feel like sometimes, of course, it's good to analyze yourself, to kind of know your weaknesses, kind of know who you are, know your predispositions, know what kind of relationship type you are. But there's also limits to the usefulness. There's a marginal usefulness, let's say, decreases with investment. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not fully sold on the idea that you just need to visit therapists all the time and just need to analyze yourself all the time and need to take courses and work on yourself to become better. I think this can really has several disadvantages. One is it kind of delays your happiness into a moment in the future. You first have to work on yourself and then finally you can enjoy life. But also, I feel like you can never fully understand yourself. I think it's too difficult, it's too mysterious in a way, and sometimes I don't even understand why I'm thinking in a way. And is it important that I'm an INFJ or INTJ or something? Am I like an avoidant relationship type, or am I an anxious attached one? Of course I know the answers to these questions, at least to some extent, but I might be wrong, first of all, because it's really hard to know yourself and analyze yourself. And second of all, what am I going to do with this information? Is this really going to improve my life significantly? Or is it just kind of like, does it lead to thinking in Schubladen, as we say in German, in boxes, thinking in boxes and trying to classify everything, like, oh, look at this, now she's being narcissistic again. Oh, look at this, now she's being, it's a borderline thing to say that, or it's toxic to say this. I feel like using these boxes is I'm not sure how helpful it is, and using like pop psychology, or even, let's say, serious psychology knowledge, I'm not sure. Just like I'm not sure if it's how useful it is to prod in your memory and try to look into your past, and always trying to resolve all your traumas. Of course it's good, and I've been seeing like somebody once at least who kind of asked me questions about my past, and of course there are moments that haven't been great, and teachers that have been too strict, and I wish my parents would have done certain things differently. But I'm just not sure if this session really helped me, because I was crying, of course, and it was a bit distressing, but I didn't really feel like something lifted off my heart afterwards. It felt more like, okay, now I open up this wound again. Now what? Now what? I don't know. The wound is still there. I still have these tendencies that result from this, from very strict teachers, or an absent father, or a mother who only really always asked me about doing my homework all the time, and me becoming like hyper conscientious because of this, and having a hard time just enjoying life. This is all true, but just me looking at some, I don't know, thinking about it, and I guess it can be helpful to recognize that and acknowledge that I have these tendencies and this personality because of my past, but I already know that most of this is deterministic, and I'm not entirely sure how useful it is to prod into this, to meddle with this past of yourself. At the same time, and this is also important for me to note finally, is just because something is deterministic doesn't mean it can't be changed. This is something I want to emphasize I don't want you to be rigid and say, oh, I was abused as a kid and now I have to abuse others. That's not something I would advocate for. Instead, I think it's good to have compassion with yourself and say, okay, I'm this way now because of my genes and my past, but I'm not going to let this determine who I am, and I want to choose my life, to live a good life. I just want to live a good life, right? And this is something that you should really feel empowered. Of course, it's harder for certain people, but it's still something you can do and you should try to do. I just feel like all the change, like every time that you want to change, the change has to come from yourself, from within. And I'm a bit skeptical if outside people can really, can really solve your problems for you. And I also feel like men in general, I guess, but also men who think like me, for me, communicating about something and talking about something might not be the best way to handle something, to cope with something, to process something. But yeah, this is of course individual to everybody, and I've been talking for quite a while now. It was really fun, so apparently turns out I still have things to talk about to you. But take everything I say here with a grain of salt, because it was just kind of a brain dump and not always perfectly structured. And I think you shouldn't listen to any gurus, because most people don't really know what they're talking about. And the same applies for me, of course. I'm the furthest away from some guru. I'm just sharing my thoughts, and I thought I'd bring you along for this ride and for this nice, pleasant hike. When we walked up to the hill, it was very steep. I couldn't have filmed, but here, this is super pleasant for me and very calming to me. So I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope you're all doing well, and thank you so much for sticking to the channel, even though many times I didn't really have the time to make any real unique and creative content, and instead of just made some casino video or something. I hope you're not insulted by this, and that you still give this channel a chance, and I very much appreciate you being here with me. Alright, talk to you soon. Goodbye.